What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Travis. Of course, this is TWA Motorsports, and today we're back on the NBS green truck with the power conversion. And when I say power conversion, the things that we are adding: power windows, power locks, power mirrors, cruise control, possibly a upper console, I don't know. But anyway, in the last couple videos, so the first video on this thing, guys, we got everything out of the donor truck, which is still outside here. I pushed it out so I'd have more room to kind of spread things out. We got everything out of the door. Okay, so we got all the regulator, all the wiring harness swapped over from one door to the other. And so that's what we did in that first video, which did take some time. Not bad though. So what we did was we just kind of looped the harness through the door, and it's just hanging right there. There's nothing for it to plug into because we don't have the harness on the dash. Well, in this last video that I uploaded on this thing, we got all the stuff that you see out right now. So we got the seats, the console, all this plastics, the interior plastics. I've got them all laid out in the bed here. We got all that stuff out, including the third brake light, so we could get the panel out up top. And guys, I'm still back and forth on whether I'm going to put that center console in. I don't know. I will tell you guys that this is pretty much the starting point that we had on the other truck. So you didn't get to see us tear all this stuff off on the other truck because it wasn't there. I will say it is it's tough to tear apart a really nice truck. This interior on this truck is in really great shape, but I'm doing it because I want the power windows. Anyway, so today we need to do some more removing, right? So we want to get the dash out today, which means we're going to have to do some stuff under the hood, which I'm going to show you guys. It's a little bit different. The one thing I did notice, guys, is there's a dummy plug right here for cruise control on that harness. Even though we're going to be swapping harnesses, it is there. It doesn't look like the pegs are there to hold the cruise control unit though, so we'll have to figure that out when we get there. The other thing I'm back and forth on is I know I'm going to be using my steering wheel because it's in way better shape than the other one, right? And I'm going to have to use my lock cylinder, so my locks match on both and they match the VIN. But I'm kind of back and forth on the column. I may pull my stuff off and use that column just because it has the switch on it. I don't know. We'll just have to look and see if I can unplug mine and then swap it over. We may do that. I don't know, guys. I haven't done this, so we're learning together. But we do need to get all this stuff out in order to get the dash loose. I kind of stopped the video at the last point once we got all the plastics off, and so the videos kind of ran together. I still think we have maybe one or two more videos because there's some stuff I want to do after we get this swapped over, but I do want to get everything working first. But we're going to start right here because some of this harness comes up and attaches here, and to me, I did it kind of backwards on the other truck. I had the dash loose and then I was trying to reach in here and undo this harness. I don't want to do that on this one, so we're just going to start here. This, guys, you may not have on yours because this is the harness that I made for the power seats that goes all the way to the other side, so I am going to have to yank that thing out of here, or at least unplug it on the bottom side of the dash and loop it back here. And then we need to get the other one. This one right here is the one that you should have, and that one goes to like your seat belts and your airbag module that's under here. We need to unplug that stuff and get it looped out because it plugs in up here as well. So we're going to start right there. Like I said, I'm going to show you guys through the process. So let's go grab some lights, some tools, and get started. The other thing is this right here, guys. You saw in the last video, we pulled off that headliner. I need to go ahead and get those clips undone and ran down here to the side at least. So I got my clip removing tools and a couple other things, but we're going to start right here, guys, with, there should be a 10 millimeter, kind of fold the carpet back here, and there is a 10 millimeter that holds this, the ground right here. And so I'm just going to take the ground that I made off and the ground that we need out of the way. And notice that there's an extra wire on here that I probably should ground. That's odd. Anyway, I noticed that my airbag light was on ever since I swapped the seats, so we may have to mess with that as well. Thought I got all that stuff hooked up before. We're gonna unplug all this. Like I said, this does not need to come out because this is for the seat. This is basically the power seat that I made. But we do need to get the airbag module loose. I'm gonna put this 10 millimeter back on here. Guys, if you just unhooked your battery, you might give it a minute to let this thing go dead. But this is what I'm talking about. We need to grab this guy, and then we're gonna move up to this area right here. And we're gonna get, there's a couple of these clips, just plastic retainers that hold this harness up against the kick panel. Pull these clips out. Maybe. I may have to get behind them with these guys and get them out. I think that's what we're gonna have to do. Actually, I may be able to just pull them out by hand. Nope. We're gonna have to get behind them with something. They're tough things. There we go. So we got that loose. Like I said, that kind of goes back to this harness. And I'm hoping that we can unplug the stereo connections similar to what we did on the other. And there's a plug, actually we can, there's a plug down here for the stereo connections. I'm gonna get it unplugged. And that comes back so we don't have to unplug all that stuff I showed you guys in the last video. So I'm gonna unplug that. And then we'll release, in fact, let's go ahead and do that now. Release all these on the pillar so we can get that out of the way. Now onto this area here, guys. This is what I was talking about with the connection for the speakers. You can see that plug right there on the kick panel. We need to unplug that guy. And that should be it as far as the wiring down here. That will come out with the dash, the top side of that plug. The bottom side, we can actually leave it, we could probably leave it connected. I'm gonna move it out of the way just because I want some additional room for the dash. But aside from that, we do need to take off our connection right here for the brake release. So we'll get that. And then I'm gonna go ahead and take the 10 millimeters off that hold this casing around the steering column. Now, similar to what we did on the other truck, once I got that plate out, we need to take, let's see if I can do this with one hand here. Need to grab our tool to get this guy unhooked. This is our shifter linkage, and we should be able to pop that off just like that. You guys see that? And then there is a retainer clip that we pull out, and then we can push this rod back through that holder, and that'll release our steering column at that point. So while I'm down here doing that though, I am gonna go ahead and get, there is a vent. You can see the plug. You guys saw that in the last video where we took this little vent out that goes to the floor. See that guy? We need to take that out. So I'm gonna take that out, and then our little box, right? So the box that we have that is kind of our control center, we're gonna take that out as well. At the very top left, guys, that's where I plugged into the factory plug for my seat power. I'm gonna go ahead and unplug that and kind of pull it back here so we don't have to route that wire out with it. But this box itself just kind of flips up and out. There's a couple clips on the top, but we can pull this box out where it's loose. On this one, I noticed there wasn't a clip, so I don't know if this column's been out before, but you can see that we've got this guy loose now. And then I got that vent out, and I did go ahead and unplug this guy, and the reason why is that's that harness that went up to the headliner, so we can leave it in the truck as well. But I did get this box loose. You can see there's a clip on the top here on both sides. If you push those in, it'll pull out, and then you can lift it up out of the holder here. So guys, now on to getting some of the bolts out. We're gonna go ahead and take this one out, the floor brace bolt. That'll be the first one I take out, and then we're just gonna kind of work our way back and forth, taking the same ones out that we took out in the other truck. This guy here, I believe, is a 13 millimeter. It is, so we're gonna get that one out. And then we're gonna move to this guy here, which is a 15, And then the one that you can see right above it here, that's a 15 as well. We'll get both those out. Once we have those 3 out, we're gonna move to the other side, and there's actually 3 of the 15 millimeters like these guys. Similar to what we did in the last video on that dash. There should be 3 on that side, only 2 on this side. Once we have those 3 out, so this guy, this one here, and then the one that you access through this part, we can go ahead, let's get the 10 millimeters loose across the top. So there should be this guy right here, 1 10 millimeter, 2, 3, and 4. And remember, there's those sneaky 15s that are around the vent on that side. In the last video, I struggled because the dash just didn't seem like it was coming loose. And it was those 2 15s that you can't even see. And both these trucks have tinted windshields, so it makes it even harder to see. But let's get the 10s out first. Got all those 10 millimeters out, and you know, we're pretty loose on this side. But before we go any further, guys, I do need to get the bottom of the steering column. I don't know why I didn't think about that while I was over there. We need to unhook the steering column from the actual shaft that goes through the firewall. So let's go back over there, grab a 15. I think it's a 15 millimeter. We'll grab that and see if we can get it loose next. So very similar to what we did, actually the exact same as what we did on the other truck. There's a 15 millimeter on this side. So there's a little black retaining clip or pin. We need, the backside does not turn. The tough part is the 15 is on this side, and you can barely, I can't even get my ratcheting wrench on there. So I have to loosen it a little bit at a time. So we're gonna get that off, pull this little clip out, and then that will relax. We can push this back down into the truck. But the other thing while I'm down here, I completely forgot, is this 13 millimeter. We need to undo that as well, because that's part of the bracing. I was actually able to get a short 15 socket, you can see right there, up and get that out. So once we get that loose, we should be able to push this out. I may have to wiggle it back and forth here. I may not be able to do it with one hand. I may have to go get a pry bar actually, but we need to push this guy out of here, and then that'll relax up against the firewall of the truck, and we'll have the steering column loose. Then we can move up to those 2 15s, like I said, that were sneaky on the last truck. Now those sneaky 15s, there's a cutaway in the vent that goes to your defrost. You can see that I'm in it right now. I'm not going to be able to show you guys and hold the camera, but there's 2 of them. One there, and you can see the cutouts for where those 15s go in. We need to get those. I'm going to be doing that by hand because I don't want to hit my windshield. So you may have to experiment with different length extensions depending on what size ratchet you're using. I've got like a 1.5 inch. I may switch over to a 3-inch extension and a short 15 because it's kind of a oddball area, and I may be swapping back and forth as I go, but we need to get those 2 15s out. As you can see, once you get those 15s loose, you can kind of loop the dash over. So a couple things I'm noticing. One, we need to get this 10 millimeter out that holds this ground. Oh my gosh, we're still falling, and I probably should have put something under the dash. I don't want to pull on a bunch of wires. Probably should have reached back in here and tried to unplug a couple of these first, but we're going to unplug this guy that goes to the top. Remember, we left a couple harnesses in, and I'm going to take this 10 out so we can get some pressure off this real quick. So at this point, we're kind of going to be going back and forth. I got that plug unhooked here and that 10 millimeter that goes to all the grounds. This pulled apart on the other truck, so I'm going to have to move that over. It's really taped up on this one though. So let's go to the other side, look at the stuff that we need to unplug on that side. It doesn't look like a whole lot. And still got to get your shift cable, this little guy here. We need to pull that out. But at this point, really guys, I'm probably going to leave it as is, and we're going to move to the outside of the truck so we can get the harness that needs to feed through in order to finish this up. But let me go unplug the stuff on the other side first. Matter of fact, let's go over there and see what we need to unplug. I think there was like maybe 3 or 4 plugs that needed to come unplugged. Yeah, like this guy here up top needs to come unplugged for sure. And then it looks like, oh, I should have done that already. These guys here need to come unplugged from the side, and that looks to be it on this side. Got that top one unplugged, got these 2 unplugged from the bottom, so everything on this side is loose. The only thing on the inside of the truck is that shift cable. So we'll get that thing out. We just need to push it out of the little spring here. And I think I did it as I was pulling the dash out on the other one, but yeah, I think we'll pull that the rest of the way out as we're going. Just because it doesn't have the, well, there we get it. I was gonna say, I didn't think it had the bending capability that the others had. And that's something that we're gonna have to pay attention to when we're going back together. We need to kind of snake that thing through where it needs to go. But guys, all we have left in order to get the dash out is what's under the hood. So let's switch over to that. Let's start with the simple things. So we need to get this out of the way, obviously. And from there, we're gonna have to take out these, I believe they're 13s, and get this plate out of place because we're gonna have to flip this whole box over. So I'm gonna go grab a 13, we'll get those loose, get this out of the way, and then we'll worry about having access to the box. But after that, we need to go ahead and pull these guys off. I made it look easy on the last video, guys. And we need to unhook our windshield wiper, the washer nozzles from our wipers. And we're gonna have to take the wipers off as well. Once we get that guy off, we should have a couple clips. If you pull on the bottom of this, hopefully get it released. Oh, I forgot I have a relay over here for fog lights. I'll have to get that out of the way. I've got a, oh no, it's not bolted to it. So we got that loose, and we're gonna have to flip this guy over in order to get all our harness out of here. Interesting. And this is my fog light relay that you guys see right here. I may have to mess with that. I don't know. I wonder if that other truck had a factory relay. It may have had factory fog lights. We may be able to do away with that. But either way, I think we're gonna move on. We're gonna leave this for right now. We're gonna move on to getting the cowl loose. So we need to get our 13 millimeters, pull a little decorative caps off here. And we need to get our 13 millimeters loose. These guys here, and then we need to pull off our end caps. I think I'll probably go get a plastic pry tool. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I'm gonna get a pry tool. I don't want to break it. I know those are in good shape. Get our pry tool under here and see if we can, there we go. They need a good cleanup anyway. Actually, one of them's busted. I did not know that, guys. I didn't take this cowl apart and clean it like I did the other one. But there is a T15 down here that we're gonna have to close the hood and get that guy out. Just right here in the corner that holds the middle or the side down. Let's get it out real quick. Got the T15 out. Now let's get these guys off. All the way across the leading edge here. It's actually missing one. Some of these can be a pain, guys. Some of them are really, really snug. There we go. And then there is a clip in the middle we'll have to pull off. I think I'm gonna wait and get the wiper off first before we do that. Goodness, that's snug. I don't believe, I put new windshield wipers on this. That's why they look the way they do. Normally I repaint, but on this one, a lot of times when your windshield wipers get some age on them, the springs get weak, and so they don't hold up against the glass like they should. That's why I replaced them. But let's get a 13, get those windshield wipers out of place. Now, since mine have been off, we may get lucky and be able to just kind of work their, yeah. But if they've been on there a while, guys, I leave the nut on, thread it up a little bit where the end of the stud isn't sticking through. And then you can tap on the end of this lightly and kind of jar it to loosen it up. But because these are new, obviously we don't have an issue taking them off. once we got both wipers off, I do need to pull this little pin. And I have never, guys, taken this off like I did on the other one. Oh, it actually, okay. That's fine, I can deal with that. I'd like to have it out of the way because of the way we gotta drag this thing out since it has a hood on it. Let's see if we can, there we go. Now the only thing else we need to do, see if I can move you guys over here without beating this thing up, is we need to take, remember we did the Escalade antenna delete. So my antenna actually runs down the fender, so check that video out, guys, if you haven't, but this does not have a hole in it. So this is a new piece. I actually found a new one from GM, which is tough to find, so I'm gonna be real careful with my plastic pry tool taking this guy off. We'll get it out of the way, and then the other T15 in the corner, and we'll be able to pull the cowl out. You can see the difference between the old one or the one that you may have on your truck. It would have a hole here for the antenna. The Escalades didn't have an external antenna, so that's what I did on this side. And this one's in, like, you know, brand new shape. If you can find one, guys, in a salvage yard, it's kind of a cool little deal. You do have to put the hood down in order to get that thing out, but we should be loose. To me, guys, holy cow, look at all the junk under there. That's not like me, guys. You know that. We need to unplug our washer line over here. There we go. And then we need to try to snake this thing out of here. I think pulling it through the bottom or the top, seems like the top is easier, but it also, if you have help out here, it's a little bit better. Get it off there. Man, that needs a good vacuum and cleaning, as you can see. That is an embarrassment to this channel, guys, that being that dirty. So let's take, you know, the whole reason we had to have this off is because we have to take the wiper motor plug off. But in that other truck, I couldn't sneak that plug past that little brace right there. So I'm gonna take the 4 10mm out of that brace, get it out of the way, and then we can reach in there and get the wiper motor unplugged. There we go. I feel like, okay, I was gonna say, I didn't feel like that was that snug on the other truck. Now that we've got that, should be able to reach under here and unplug the wiper motor. I'm gonna have to go grab a pick, get it unplugged, and then we can push the grommet out here. And it looks like we're gonna have to take the 10 stud off for the light. So let's just go ahead and loop all that junk through. 10mm stud on the hood, 10mm stud on the firewall in order to get this guy loose, because it's all part of that harness. This has a piece on the bottom that you push in, then it unplugs. Now we can route it out. And then we have a stud right here that's hooked to. And then this goes down, it's hooked to another stud. And then this dummy plug right here, guys, you can see what I'm talking about. You could have put a cruise control box on this truck relatively easy. So we got that part. Now we need to work on our connections underneath our box here. So in order to do that, before I get real crazy, I'm going to take, we're gonna pull this box out, but before I do, there's a 7mm that comes up for power on this side I'm gonna take loose. And any other, I think that's the only one, just to give us an additional amount of room. This is part of the factory connection. So I think it's a 7mm, we'll get that loose. And I may pull my harness out for my, in fact, let's just go ahead and do that. This is for the fog lights I added to this truck. We may have to yank that out with it, I don't know. But for now, let's get this 7 out. That 7 that we took out just goes from the battery to power this entire box. So we'll release these clips here. There is a clip up against the side. We could flip this thing over, okay? And so basically, what do we need? Well, we need everything that runs into the truck. So we're gonna need this harness, and this plug right here. So sometimes, I think there's a clip on this one, but I know that these are 7. We're gonna have to unbolt them in order to get them loose. We'll pull all these harnesses apart. And this is kind of cool, guys, because we added this harness. A majority of this side came with the V8 swap. It's awesome that they didn't make different, boxes for different trucks. Everything kind of fit, so you can do these swaps like this. It makes it really nice. And guys, honestly, if you get a body control module, chances are the truck won't start, but you might be able to do this swap on a 03 up truck, just because of all this stuff that you can just unplug. So I had a total of 1, 2, 3 plugs on that big plug, and the only one I have left is this one I cannot see the clip on. Oh, I'm gonna have to stick a screwdriver in there and unplug it. Maybe. I can barely see it, guys. Yeah, it's just a regular, I may have to get a bigger screwdriver. I don't even know what that's to. I'm gonna have to work on getting that out. I'm gonna have to be in the way of the camera, but that's the last plug we need, I believe. That was the last plug, guys. It just had an oddball clip on it. You can see, I had to get my screwdriver in there to push that in. But, okay, I'm gonna have to do some stuff off camera that you guys probably won't have to do. My wiring harness that went to my, well, that still does go to my fog lights, is all tangled up within this. So a couple things. I'm gonna trim off my wire so I can just pull it through. But I'm gonna tuck it in the loom so it's nice and hidden, basically, so we don't have to mess with that again. The other thing I'm going to do, though, is while I've got all this apart, well, I'll show you guys later, but we need to grab an edge of this guy here and kind of poke it through. See this guy, we need to, there we go. See how it went through? Now we've got it loose and we can just thread all that wiring in, guys. Hopefully you can see that. All this wiring is gonna go through there. I'm gonna go ahead and thread that through, and I believe we will be ready to walk the dash out. Woo-wee! We got it. So here's the deal. Got all that stuff pushed through. All those plugs that we unplugged. Remember, this guy right here, you guys probably won't have. That is my wiring harness for the fog lights, which like I said, I don't remember if that had fog lights. If it does, I might be able to just tie into that and use a factory switch, but for some reason, I don't think it did. What I've done, there's the grommet that went through the firewall. All these plugs are the ones that were on the outside of the vehicle. I fished those up and kind of looped them over the dash. Inevitably, guys, you're gonna forget to unplug something. This is where we go through and check everything. I noticed that I forgot, I talked about it earlier, but I did not unhook the e-brake release. And so I snuck under there. You can see my light I have shining under there, and unhooked it. But at this point, we are ready to walk this dash out and start the reassembly of the other dash. Now, I do have some stuff I need to do on, I don't know if you guys remember in the last video, but a couple of the plugs under the box up there were like broken and somebody had taped together. So I do have some work to do on that. I won't show you guys that because hopefully you don't have to deal with that, but I'm gonna resolder the connections on a couple of those pieces, and anything that looks frayed. I'm gonna go over the harness that goes out to the, basically through the firewall and out on the outside or under the hood. I just wanna make sure all those connections are good. We don't wanna have a situation where we get the new dash in and nothing works. That would be terrible. But either way, Not honestly too bad to get the dashes out of these. You know, I think a lot of times I would be in freak out mode and guys, if you're watching, I appreciate the help. I think it's Texas something that posted in the comments how to do this, and then he sent me another message about it. Thank you for your help, because this is something that I've dreaded, pulling this dash out. And honestly, guys, I would tackle this again. It is not that bad. It's just time consuming, making sure you're getting all the pieces. But I also lost a 10mm in here somewhere. I'm going to try to find once we get this dash out. When I was taking this 10mm out up top, it fell down in there. Oh, I actually see it right there. It happens. You're gonna lose stuff. 10mm, you guys know the story. 10mm, they fly away sometimes. Anyway, let's get this dash out, and the next thing you guys are gonna see will be us going back in with the other dash. Here we are, got everything out of the way. The dash is out. Had my wife come out and help me. It's actually not that heavy, guys, which is nice because I was able to have her help me. She took this side, which is not heavy at all, and walked it through because she's a little more nimble than me at doing stuff like that. But anyway, we got the thing out, and it's kind of crazy to see it with like the cluster and all the stuff in here. I think it's weird to see like your air conditioner controls and all this stuff, but we're gonna have to do some experimenting with, like I said, the column and the body control module, which you see plugged in down here below, those blue plugs. That's the body control module. I would love to be able to swap body control modules, but we're gonna have to do some experimenting with the key situation, the column situation, and that. Not sure, but I'll talk about that as we go. But either way, this is time where I'm going to do some cleaning. So I'm gonna clean, I'm gonna wipe the dust off all this, kind of vacuum it out, make it look a little nicer. I may pull the carpet out just because I want to vacuum underneath the carpet and I want to do some other stuff. But for now, I think I won't show you guys anything else in here. I won't show you any of my cleaning. My OCD cleaning will probably get a little crazy in there. Same thing on the cowl. Like I said, that's embarrassing to see how dirty that's gotten. But look, this thing's never been off. The only thing I did was change the wiper arms. I've never taken that off. So we'll get that all cleaned up. But onto this dash, like I said, I'm not gonna show you guys the pieces I'm gonna have to solder, but they're on those plugs that go through the firewall and plug in under the dash, or under the box, under the hood. I just noticed a couple were broke, and like I said, I don't wanna have any issues. So I'm gonna resolder those connections, sitting here in my little chair. And then we can probably, once we get I'll probably work on cleaning the interior. I may dust this off a little bit, get it kind of cleaned up, and then we'll worry about getting this dash in there. I'm gonna put it in with the column, and you could see the keys even in it still. And then we'll worry about, going through the wiring stuff as far as the body control module, the steering column and all that. We'll worry about that once it's in the truck. But let's do some cleaning off camera and some soldering of wires. Let's look at what I've been messing with for, I don't even know how long now, probably a couple hours. A couple of these, and if you guys noticed, I showed you in the last video, but a couple of these plugs had been either spliced into or broke or whatnot. So I had to pull some pretty short ends off and solder them back together, but I've got it all taped up nicely. And so at this point, I'm in cleaning mode. So I'm getting ready to start. I've got my vacuum over there, getting ready to start cleaning. But a couple things I did want to show you guys. If you're doing this, and let's say you don't have any car stereo or you don't have any extra add-ons, there's a couple things I want to do. For one, you guys noticed I said I cut the wires that went to my fog lights because I added fog lights on this truck. It didn't have them, and I added an aftermarket switch. So I cut that line on under the hood, but they went under the dash. So while I've got this apart and while we have access to this, I unwrap this. There is no earthly way you're gonna squeeze any additional wires through here, I don't believe. That thing is really tight. I don't wanna pry against it too much and chafe one of the wires underneath and have any issues. So what I did, guys, is this thing's two-piece, so you can separate this from the inside. And this has some room, so we can poke wire through the center of this one. But I made a small little hole here with the screwdriver, and I'm gonna pass through several things. I'm gonna pass through 5 wires. I've got the 2 wires that went to my fog lights in case this one doesn't have it. And I went out and looked, it didn't have it, but I don't know if it's wired for it anyway. But I'm gonna pass 2 wires through for that. I'm gonna pass 2 wires through in case down the road I do decide to add a temp sensor on the outside, like behind the grill. So I'm gonna add 2 wires for that. And then I'm gonna add 1 additional wire just for extra. Don't really know anything else I would add, but just in case, I'm gonna add 1 single wire. So I'm gonna add a total of 5 wires. I'm gonna try to make them all different colors. Now, I'm gonna just tuck them in the loom here. I got a new piece of loom from this junction here back, and I'm gonna clean the rest of this loom up a little bit, and as well as all this stuff, and I'll do that off camera. But I wanted to show you guys that. And then the other thing I'm gonna pass through is the power wire for a stereo. So you can see I've got a kicker kit here. I'll list all this stuff, guys, that I'm using in the description down below. But, and when I say below the video, there's a drop down and you can see all the links of stuff that I'm using if you decide to use some of this. So either way, I'm going to run this through at the same time, just the power side. And I'll show you guys once I'm all finished up, but I figured this is a good time to do this before we like try moving this back into the truck. I haven't even cleaned in the truck yet. I'll show you guys that as well, but I'm gonna use my brush and some towels and clean all. You could see like the dirt and stuff in the vents. I'm assuming this thing's set with the windows down a lot, but not gonna take me long, I don't think, to just clean this up. And most of it's gonna be covered anyway, but that's just the kind of cleaning OCD person I am. But let's get the wire ran through, both the speaker and the other 5 wires, and then we will clean this up. I'll show you guys once it's all cleaned up and the loom is in place. Let's take a look here. We've got, I'm probably the only guy that details behind this dash. I used this brush, I don't even see it now, but I used the brush, wiped everything down, got all the dust and dirt off stuff. Guys, some of that stuff starts to disintegrate over the years. So just vacuumed out everything really nice. I did go over the floor once, but we're gonna do that again later. But onto the dash, right? So I did what I could reach with it setting the way it's setting. So I got the vents all cleared out. Definitely looks a lot better. You don't have a bunch of junk in there. And I did the top side of the dash and then the back side of the dash here. Cleaned all the vents off on the back side, what I could reach here. I wanted to show you guys what it looked like when I got this all back together. So you can see I've got it in the holder, right? Like it's supposed to be. Looks pretty good. I cleaned that up a lot. And I may go over this a little bit more. I went over this loom, but I don't know, guys. It's wearing me thin at this point. But I'm ready to put this thing in. So here's what I'm thinking. We need to pay attention to a couple things. Remember the first one being your shift linkage that's going to go in here. Now, we don't necessarily have to put it in that holder right now, but we just need to kind of get it up in the area it needs to go. You can see it goes in between this box right here. So it does need to go up in there. Now, we don't have to worry about putting it in the ring. We just need to get it in that box. And chances are we could probably take that box down. I think that's the body control module box that I'm seeing. I can't tell because normally I'm looking at it from the front side. But you know, worst case scenario, guys, if you don't get that. But a couple other things that you do want to make sure of, right? So we got plugs up here on the top of the dash. Remember, we had a couple connections on this side, and then we had a couple connections on this side. One of them being here, it's snuck underneath this guy right in the corner. I am going to pull the ground piece off that fell off the other truck. And let's see here, what else? I think that's about it, other than obviously we got to feed this wire up through the truck as we go in. So what we'll do is we'll kind of set the dash in there. We'll gradually scoot it up, and then I'll kind of cut in and out, showing you guys, you know, what we need to make sure that we hook up, what we need to make sure we're over. Obviously, guys, these need to clear up top. Same thing here, these sandwich in between. So if you have some fallback, that's fine. And ultimately, we're just going to try to get this one in the same way we took the old one out, with just a few more wires hanging off of it. So let's see if I can get somebody out here to help me, and we'll thread it through. Hopefully we can do that from the other side, since I've got a mess out here. And we'll kind of go from there. Like I said, guys, I'll kind of cut in and show you as we go. Well, I wasn't able to show you quite as much as I wanted to. So the two plugs, so the plug right here behind the vents on this side, there's only one plug there. You could see it poking up above the dash, and then your antenna. So there's only actually 3 wires other than getting your shift linkage where it needs to go. Remember, I talked about that. But so I've got it in here. I've got a couple bolts loosely ran in. I'm just basically, guys, what I'm doing is I'm running underneath, checking, making sure we don't have any pinched wires. Of course, while I was threading it through, I pushed all that clump of wires to the outside, and it looks to be like everything's okay. I'm just double and triple checking. I just don't want to smash any wires, and then I want to make sure that all our holes line up. The only hole right now that's kind of bothering me and making me wonder what's going on, the brace here isn't here, so I don't know exactly how it's going to line up. So I really need to get it. But the one right here, you see the one where it bolts right beside the brake pedal? We're not even close to that lining up. Now, here's what I also realize. This thing has a ton of play in it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to loosely thread in all the 10 millimeters across the top. I've got 2 of the 15 started here, just loose. I got 1 on the other side. I'm going to loosely thread in those 4 10 millimeters across the top, and then at least 2 of the 15s on both sides. And then we're going to put the brace in and kind of see how that lines up down there. So I think everything's probably okay. There may be a little bit of difference between the brace on this truck and the other truck. And so worst case scenario, I guess I could rob this brace. Where's it at? It's actually back there by the steering column. So I may have to rob that. Maybe there's a difference between the 2 years. I can't see that being the case, but either way, let me thread these in, mess around under the dash, make sure we got no wiring issues, and then I'll kind of come back and talk to you guys about how our hole lines up and, you know, where we go from here. Well, for the life of me, guys, I could not figure out why the dash was not lining up. So I could get the 410s across the top. I could get the 15s on that side, but not this side. It's like it had a gap. What I found out when we were putting this on here, it's important that you get these over the, obviously where the 10 millimeters go, right? So all the way across. However, the other thing you have to clear is the heater box, which is there in the center. That's fine, we did that. The problem was this right here. You have to kind of tilt this dash back in order to get those. Remember the 2 15s, the 2 sneaky 15s that are in the cutout of the vents? This was on the bottom side of where it needed to be. And that was what was giving me the gap on this side and not allowing it to set up in the dash. So at this point, I have the 2 15s here and here set up. They're just in there snug by hand. I've got the 10 millimeters all the way across the dash. I started one of the 15s in the sneaky spots, and the brace down below by the brake now lines up. So that was definitely the issue, guys. So at this point, I'm gonna go through, snug the 2 15s there. I'm gonna snug the 10 millimeters, the 4 10 millimeters across the top, as well as the sneaky 15s. And then on the other side, we're gonna get the 3 15s, because remember you have 3 on this side. I've got 2 of them started by hand, this one and this one, but the one that's hidden back here behind the vent, we need to put it in. So I'm gonna get all those snug, and then we'll move on. I now have 15s, the 2 on this side, the 3 on that side, the 2 sneaky ones, the 4 10 millimeters across the top, all tight. I even came down here and put the one in beside the brake. You can see it there. So now I've robbed my brace. Guys, this brace goes, you can see the 2 bolt holes here on the right side, top and bottom. That's where that brace goes in. So we're gonna see if we can get it up in place and get it snugged down, both up top and up against the floor like it's supposed to be. Now, I will tell you that we're gonna have to, as a matter of fact, I may not put the bottom one in because we'll have to remove that to get the carpet slid around it, but I can at least put the 2 13s, that's what they are, up top here. At this point, I've started to kind of start making some of my connections, right? So The wiring connections here on the door, I went ahead and done that. So remember the ones that there was 2 plugs that came in on this green wire right here. And guys, they only plug in one way, so you can't plug them in the wrong pin. They only fit one area in this box. And we still have some cleaning to do before we put all the covers on. But I wanted to show you guys, I plugged these 4 in. 2 of them coming from the door, like I said. 2 of them are from the factory connection. Actually, this truck had these 2 to begin with. So these 2 are tied into the power windows and power locks. And then you've got the one that has the little arm on it that swings into place. I went ahead and got it, and it's got a little tab to keep it in place right there. So I'm gonna go through, probably do the same thing on the other side. I'm gonna look under there, make sure that we've got everything. I'll kind of show you guys here in a minute what it looks like over there. Then I think we're gonna switch gears and go under the hood and see if we can get everything plugged in down here on this driver, on the driver's side here with all the plugs and things that we need to plug up. Let's take a look at the connections I made over here. So similar situation as the other side, the one that clips together, that has a little swing out. Sorry guys, my light kind of is not great right down here. But this guy that swings apart, so you pull this little blue lever, we hooked it up and put it in the spot where it goes. There's a spot that's opened up and there's a pin on the other side so it stays in place. I did run it behind the line that goes to the hood pop. I thought it would be better to have it out of the way. Same thing with the stereo connection, so you can see we made that and it clips where it needs to go. Aside from that, there's only one other plug over here. Make sure you've got your box up here in place. There's nothing to plug into it yet. There's one plug that comes up from this and plugs into your fuse box over here. So hopefully you guys can see that. And what I did, guys, is I tried to route this out of the way of like the e-brake cable, the hood pop. I did go ahead and hook up the e-brake cable. Remember that little pin that we hooked up or unhooked, getting it apart? I put that together. I ran all the extra wires. You could see they're kind of behind the box. And there's actually a nice little channel here built into the truck that we can set this big wire in, so it's not like poking through the carpet. See that? It's kind of nice to have that. And aside from that, I didn't get this bar in yet because it's kind of sandwiched together, and honestly guys, I'm gonna have to move it to put the carpet in. I may mess with it here in a little bit, but I know I told you I was gonna put that in, but it probably is best if it goes in with the dash. I'm still going to be able to get it in there, but just to let you guys know, that's why it's still sitting there. But other than that, I did go ahead and just kind of loosely fit, you know, the airbag control module or the sensor, I guess. I don't even know what that thing does. And I got the ground hooked up. The only thing we had left is a seat belt. Now, my seats, I wired up to where the seat belt, because they're in the seat, the plug's different. So that's why it's, I'm not got it plugged into anything yet. So at this point, we're gonna go under the hood and we're gonna mess with that stuff and kind of see what we can get accomplished. My goal, guys, is to I don't want to put everything back together yet, because I want to turn the key on and see exactly what happens. Are these going to work? In fact, we can go ahead and take the leads off. These were just my test leads that I had, and plug in our motor. But I want to test it. Like anything else, when it's apart, you know, you have no idea whether it works. And I don't want to go through, you know, moving a bunch of stuff back in and doing a bunch of cleaning before we know if that's going to work. So either way, let's get under the hood, see what we need to accomplish there. So what a mess of wires that we have. I didn't put loom on this yet, guys. This is for your hood light. I'm not worried about it right now. As a matter of fact, there's a couple of these that we can string over. This goes to your wiper motor. We're not ready for that yet. This guy goes to the cruise control. We're not ready for that yet. So those wires can go over there. But these that are in the bigger loom, they come up underneath. And then we've got, of course, our power wire for our radio. I've kind of got it. I'm gonna try to route it kind of up here. I don't know, I'll probably just zip tie it up actually for now. Let's just get it out of the way. So now we're down to, I have no idea why this one's taped up, right? It's obviously a power of some sort, but let's not worry about that right now. Let's just focus on the ones that we need to plug in. So this guy plugs in down below here, and does have a safety pin to keep it in place, or whatever they call them, clip. Holy cow. It's kind of routing stuff out. As a matter of fact, I'm going to worry about that one last. Let's just go ahead, get our 7mm in this guy, because it's just plug and play. Same thing with the one underneath. Remember the one we had such trouble unplugging? Just plug and play. But I need to grab a 7mm and tighten that one up. And then what else do we got here? Got these two plugs that come in. Like there's another one. And you may not use all of them, guys, so don't think that they all have to plug in, because sometimes there's some extras. This one right here is the one we had to work on. What do we got here? That one's plugged in. I think we only have a few more here. That one I don't think plugs in. That's pretty much it. I don't see any other plugs. We'll take a look here in a minute and make sure, but I think there's a couple extras. There's one up here in front of the box. I plugged it in. But I feel like this was an extra on the other truck as well. Because there's nothing that plugs into this. That was loose before. So I think we've got all our connections. We just need to go grab, this needs to be out. This is our windshield washer line. Needs to be out of the way. Got all the wire on the wrong side of it. All right, I think all we need to do is tighten that 7 up, and then we can set this down in place. Now don't over tighten this. We may have to move some relays over. I'm not sure what the power situation's like. I don't know if it's got relays everywhere. A lot of times GM will go ahead and put the relays and the fuses in all the boxes, even if you don't have certain equipment. Now let's see if we can get this thing to set down. So like I said, guys, you had one plug that's up against the side of the box here. You had this other plug, actually that didn't unplug. You had the big black plug, the one that we had to repin because it had some issues. We had one plug in the front, and then the big one that we just screwed in, and then that guy. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 connections is all we made. Like I said, I believe these are extras. I don't know what that's for. If it's for like it could be for like maybe a 4-wheel drive truck. Maybe they have some equipment that the 2-wheel drives don't have. Could be several things. And I want to have this in a way to where it fits and we're not pinching any wires. Got one hooked up. We are set. At this point, I am going to go ahead and hook this up, and I'm going to make sure I'm dying to test this. I don't know if it's going to work without more stuff plugged in, but we got the windows, we got the power under the hood. Can we hook up the battery and give it a try now? I don't know, but I really want to. So we got all our extras out here. I'm gonna just attempt it, guys. It may be a mistake, to do this. But man, I really want to see, will it roll the windows up and down? And if not, I'm still not giving up. It just may be because we don't have everything completely plugged in. But let's hook the battery up and give it a shot. Well, I'm pretty sure part of this is it's probably a bad idea. But I don't know if you guys can hear that clicking. It sounds like the hazards are going off, and I think it could be because we don't have a switch for the lights. It's not the blinker. Yeah, for some reason the hazards are on. Did you hear that? Did you hear the doors unlock? Oh, buddy. Only this one worked? Let's see. Oh man, that's cool. Okay. It starts with that key. All right, let's go grab a couple window switches and give it a shot. Still not sure what the hazards are about. I think it's gotta be because the light switch isn't in. But, you know what? I don't care. I just want to try this so bad. And then we'll unplug the battery again and continue. But all right, guys, let's check it out. I'll move you over here, see if we can see the door. Let's turn the key on. The key that's not in there. Oh, the lock and unlock's working on both sides. See it moving? That's a good sign. Look at that. Woo! Awesome. All right, guys, we still have a lot to do. I gotta unhook the battery before we have a completely dead battery and unhook these switches now that I've put them in place. But it is exciting to be able to test it and see things actually work that you were trying to accomplish. Now, we still have a lot to do as far as like figuring out, you know, you heard it start. That is with the other body control module, that steering wheel and the original key. But let's try, look at that. That's awesome. My goal though, I really don't want to keep this column in because I want to have the key that fits my doors. Now, could I swap now I still have the truck out there. I could swap the lock cylinders out of the door, but if you ever had to have a key cut and you were running it off VIN, you would get the wrong key. So I don't know, I'm kind of back and forth on that. But either way, let's unhook the battery, unhook these switches and keep going.